Hi friends! Today we are going to be reading a book about germs. The book that I chose talks a lot about ways that we can stay healthy and ways we can prevent the spreading of germs, which is super important during this time. So the book that we're going to read today is called Curious George Discovers Germs. George is a good little monkey and always very curious, but sometimes even good little monkeys find themselves not feeling so well. How did George know he was sick? The story starts with spaghetti sauce. George's favorite day of the week was sauce day at Chef Pischetti's restaurant. He always gave Chef Pischetti some tips to make the best sauce. But today, instead of being able to taste the chef's new Molto Jolto sauce, George couldn't taste anything. Chef Pischetti sent George home, and the man with the yellow hat sent George to bed. Then he took George's temperature. "Fever, stuffy nose, clammy paws," said the man. "You are definitely fighting a germ, George." "Do you know what a germ is?" George was curious. The man got out a book. There was a picture of a funny-looking blob. "This is a bad germ, George. There are good germs and bad germs. A bad germ is making you sick," the man explained. "Germs are very small. They can be found anywhere in your body, your nose, your mouth, your stomach, your lungs. But that's enough biology for today. Tired monkeys need their rest." George might have been sick, but he was still curious. Where did the germ come from? And more important, how could he get rid of it? He was still wondering when he dozed off. Soon George was dreaming. In his dream, he was very small, like a germ. He and his pal, Nochi, were going to take a trip inside George's sleeping body to fight off the bad germs. George and Nochi zoomed into sleeping George's mouth and landed right on his tongue. It was soft and squishy, and there was music playing. They hadn't expected that. What could it be? It seemed to be coming from his nose. When George and Nochi got to the nose, they saw a funny-looking blob strumming a guitar and singing. "I'll make you sniff and I'll make you sneeze. You won't be smelling that smelly cheese. We'll be making you sweat and making you squirm, because that's how germs are being germs." George could hardly believe his eyes. "I'm Toots, the singing germ," he introduced himself, "and these are my backup singers, the germettes." Seeing Toots in his nose made George upset. He wanted that germ out of him. But Toots did not want to go. In fact, he took the germettes and headed to George's lungs, laughing and singing all the way. George and Nochi chased the germs to the lungs. George noticed that when the lungs got smaller, air went out. And when the lungs got bigger, a rush of air came in. He was watching himself breathe. It says test it out. You guys want to try that? It says put your hand just above your belly button. Take a deep breath in. Do you feel your tummy get bigger? That's because your lungs are filling up with air. Now breathe all the way out. What happens then? Try breathing fast or very slow. See how your body changes when you do this. George's lungs gave him an idea. He remembered something he saw in a germ book. Coughing and sneezing are the lungs' way of doing their job in trying to force out bad germs. All George had to do was sneeze Toots right out of his body. George and Nochi chased Toots and the Germettes all the way to George's nose. Then with one big sneeze, thanks to some well-positioned tickling, out went Toots and the Germettes, out into the air looking for a new place to live. A few days later, George was feeling much better. He had taken lots of naps, drunk lots of water and juice, and sneezed out all those germs. He could even smell again. But it was clear where Toots and the Germettes had found a new home. George's friend, the man with the yellow hat, was sick. The man had taken such good care of George when he was sick. Now George wanted to help his friend get better too. So he made some soup. George brought the soup to the man's bed. "Thanks, George," said the man, but when he tried the soup, he couldn't taste anything. George wanted to taste it, but his friend stopped him. "George, don't use that spoon. It might be covered with my cold germs. You don't want to get sick again, do you?" the man asked. George definitely did not want to get sick again. That made George curious. How else did germs get from one person to another? He looked at his germ book. George knew that the germs were in him just a few days ago, but his friend had not used George's spoon, or fork, or cup. Do you think the man caught George's germs when he sneezed or coughed? Looking at the book made George sleepy. He drifted into another dream. Now he and Nochi were inside the man with the yellow hat's body. There was that music again coming from the man's stomach. They needed to find Toots so they could kick him out again. We all know that when we need to sneeze, if there's no tissues around, what do? Where do we sneeze? In our elbows, right? It said, did you know? If you don't have a tissue handy, you should cough or sneeze into your elbow. If you cough or sneeze into your hand, the germs will be on your hand. Then, when you touch a doorknob, a sink, a pen, or even someone else's hand, you'll spread your germs to them. And even worse, if you don't cover up at all, your germs can go really far. We don't want that to happen, so it's important to cover our sneezes and our coughs. Well, I've been lots of places, floating free as a wheeze, riding on your silverware, or flying on your sleeves. I played in many people all across this great big land, especially in the folks who don't like to wash their hands. Because soap makes me wiggle and soap makes me sneer, one sign of Snope and this Toots is out of here. If George heard Toots correctly, getting his friend to wash his hands would be a good way to help him get rid of the germs and feel better. But Toots and the Germettes remembered George and knew they needed to get away from him. "We're off to play in another body," Toots said. They were going to infect someone else. "Get ready to hop on that hand when he wipes his nose," yelled Toots to his Germettes. George didn't want the germs inside his friend, but he didn't want anyone else to be sick either. He had to stop them. When the bell rang and the man got up to answer the door, Toots and the Germettes were ready for a new body. Professor Wiseman's. She had also made soup for her sick friend. George and Nochi zoomed out after the germs and landed with a thud on Professor Wiseman's hand. The germs were startled. "Oh, it feels like something is crawling on my hands," Professor Wiseman said. "I should probably wash them inside." Here it says, "Did you know? Everyone, kids and adults, should wash their hands with soap before they eat, after they use the bathroom, and when they are through playing with toys, using public transportation, or visiting public places. We use our hands to touch all kinds of things. That is why it's important to keep them out of our mouth and wash them often." Professor Wiseman went to the bathroom and washed Toots and the germettes right down the drain. Not only had George chased those germs out of his friend, he and some soap had stopped them from getting Professor Wiseman sick too. When George woke up from his dream, he felt great, but he went straight to the bathroom to wash his hands and feet just in case. After 2 icky adventures with Toots, this healthy little monkey wanted it to stay that way. The end. So friends, make sure you guys are constantly washing your hands and covering your coughs and sneezes. And I hope you and your family are staying healthy. See you later.